All right, let's go. Day number 27. So basically 2 days after Christmas, and today let's talk about Q5 because we're basically in Q5 right now. And Q5 is this period between Christmas and New Year when you don't really know how else to call it, right? It's like, are you actually working during this time? Are you actually taking time off? Because like the world is still spinning, right? Business is still going on. I mean, most of us are still buying online. Right now, I'm actually searching for a phone and so on, but leaving that aside. So let's talk about how to actually crush it this Q5, especially with marketing, with Facebook ads, with Google ads, with advertising, with selling in general, because this is a very important time for almost anyone. And I'll tell you why. First of all, because you have an opportunity to actually look at 2024, like the financial year is ending. So for many people, it's also about, all right, how much I actually made during this time, and then like what's the goal for 2025. And ideally, we do grow year over year, right? I mean, this is what the economy wants, needs, and this is what we also need, right? By the way, it's so cold, we have to wear gloves. But coming back to the main topic here, so there are multiple ways to take advantage of this. So first off, one way is to actually be in the game. For example, with advertising right now, I'm actually running multiple ads for multiple brands, and of course I'm checking them daily because there are opportunities in the market right now, meaning that, for example, the cost to advertise is lower. And the main reason is that many brands aren't advertising anymore due to at least one reason, I would say. So the fact that, all right, Christmas passed and most people already bought something for Christmas. And that's when most of us spend our money, right? Buying gifts for our relatives, friends, girlfriends, spouses, wives, kids, right? All of that. So we know it's a boom, an economic boom during this time for most companies. But let's not forget, we're getting back in the game immediately, especially nowadays. It's like the online world never sleeps, right? You can make an order at any point. You can start a new coaching program at any point. You can start a new course online at any point, right? So yeah, you can rest for sure, right? Like even myself on the 25th, I didn't really do much. Of course, I worked on some personal projects and so on, but it wasn't really stressful. And during this time, besides the fact that you can reflect on what happened, you can also take advantage of this small window when you can basically either, let's say, if you are advertising, focus on the fact that the new year is coming, which is basically in a few days. And for example, you might not be in the non-alcoholic beverage space, right? So this is more relevant for that. But for example, in that industry, in the non-alcoholic beverage industry, so no alcohol, there's actually in January a thing called dry January, because people want to take to protect their liver, I would say, right? Because maybe if you've overconsumed food, if you drank too much alcohol during this time. Personally, I don't do it anymore just because I've done it in the past, and yeah, it's just not fun anymore. Meaning that there are so many other better things to do. And for example, what other things you can do? So if you're not advertising, still you can plan ahead. Like, what's the plan for the next few days or months? Because everyone in January will be looking to be in that state of mind of new year, new me, let's be a better version, right? So you need to take advantage of that, even for yourself, but even if you are in the business world. But basically everyone is in the business world, right? Like, we all have an income because we do something that's productive for the economy. In different ways, that's true, but we still do that. And that's why, for example, relevancy really matters. That's why I'm talking about Q5 right now, because we're in Q5. That's why in a few days I will talk about the new year, because we'll be in the new year, or yeah, close to it, right? So relevancy definitely matters. It doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about principles as well that apply at all times, because those are, let's say, the base of the pyramid. But still, we also need to look at what's happening right now, because look at media in general. A lot of it is thriving on the fact that you talk about what's happening right now, right? It's like, what's the newest shiny thing and so on, which honestly you shouldn't really focus on in most cases for yourself. Like, you don't want to get caught up in new fads, in new shiny objects, because there will always be one. It's just like comparing yourself to someone else in terms of wealth, in terms of what they have. That's pointless, right? Like, you're just doing a disservice to yourself. But when you are advertising or selling, the point is to actually do something that's working, right? So that's why you need to balance things. That's why in many cases what you do and what you say aren't connected, right? Because, for example, if someone on YouTube teaches you something, it doesn't mean they still do that thing, right? It's just like with the agency world. We have a lot of people who are teaching you how to run an agency, but they don't have an agency anymore, which I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that, but in many cases they might be disconnected, right? So this is where you actually need to pay attention, to use your judgment, and yeah, see if something makes sense or not. Because let's not forget, almost everyone is trying to sell us something, but ideally we do get sold on something that's also useful for us. So for example, all the brands that I'm working with, I wouldn't say there's any that sells anything that's, let's say, bad. Like, I'm not in any industry that's selling a bad product. Maybe it's not the best product, but you also don't pay the highest price, right? It's just like with t-shirts. You probably don't buy the highest quality possible, but you also don't overpay. But you also don't buy the lowest quality. But coming back to Q5 and how to take advantage of it, because right now people still have money, right? I mean, even if they don't have money, they have credit cards, especially in the US. So that's why you need to always remember that there's opportunity each and every hour. Every hour there's a Facebook ad that's running. Every hour there's someone, actually every second, someone buys something online, right? And you are either the one who is selling or advertising, or you are the one who's being sold to. And it's just like with working. And basically, one advantage when you're working is that you're so busy working that you don't have time to spend money. So it's like a win-win. You also work and make money, but you also don't spend money. So this is where you can find like opportunities in your life and even in business, when something comes with multiple benefits at the same time. And coming back to Q5, this is a more, I would say, this is a great period for health brands, but also think in terms of personal development, because it's the best time to actually advertise the fact that you do want to be a better version, you do want to get better results, you do want a better year. Because imagine, whoever says that they want to have a worse year? Honestly, no one. Because why would you, right? There's no point. It's either you're making progress or you're like dying, right? You don't want to decline, because decline is exactly that. In most cases we correlate it with the fact that we're getting older or that we'll die, right? But not to get too philosophical here, but in terms of advertising, actually, think of it like this. And this is something that you can apply. Most things that we sell are actually for for fulfilling a human desire. And you can look at it in different ways, but think like this. So women want to look younger, men want higher status, older people want health and longevity. Then I'm trying to think. I mean, it's the same with younger people. They just want to see more mature. That's why, for example, right now you'll see something like looks maxing, or you know how it is, right? So like people who are older want to be younger, and people who are younger want to be older. So it's always like this. Most people, me included, of course, even if I know all of this, we all want what we can't really have, right? Because it's like a challenge. And this is something that actually is being used during this time in Q5. It's like January challenge, dry January challenge, as I mentioned earlier, or fitness challenge, or money makeover challenge. So there are so many ways right now to advertise, but also to take advantage of the fact that many people, many brands are away from work. So there is basically an opportunity to either plan or just be in the game. And you can never lose if you are basically improving all the time. So enough talking, enough yapping for this video. I hope it helped, and see you tomorrow on the 28th.